Christians to listen and to be open and present to God in prayer. Listen to these passages, what word or phrases appeal to you? Be still and know that I am God. Speak, Lord. Your servant is listening. The Spirit of truth will guide you towards everything that is true. We do not know how to pray as worthy children of God, but the Spirit within us is actually praying for us in those agonizing longings that never find words. At every turn, life links us to the Lord. In life or death, we are in the hands of the Lord. Thinking of these passages, spend a few seconds reflecting on how you might better relate to God in prayer. Scripture passages we have reflected upon all invite us to stillness. All of us need to give stillness a chance. We have to learn to pause, to stop being so busy, to simply be still. By quieting ourselves, we momentarily stop the distance of our noisy world, and we are able to acknowledge that God is with us, within us, and speaking to us. Please reflect on these words. Be still and know that I am God. Speak, Lord, your servant is listening. The Spirit of truth is guiding me. The Spirit within me is praying. We have prayed together about prayer itself, how it is important for us to pray, and important for us to pray with our children, as a reminder of God's invitation to us to be still and listen. Today, when you leave, each family will receive one purple Catholic prayer for Catholic families prayer books. Please take these home and use them on a regular basis. God, our loving parent, thank you for these messages from your word. May they strengthen us as we try to pray, and may they encourage us to share our faith within our families and with our children. We ask this through Christ our Lord. Amen. In the name of the Father, and the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Amen.
Okay, so tonight I want to explain to you the Faith Formation Program and maybe the angle I was coming from. And it kind of started back when I was a Girl Scout leader, and we had signed the kids up to go to COSI for an overnight. thought it's a great idea, couldn't wait to go. Signed up in February. It was negative 10 degrees, and my girlfriend and I were traveling down 271 at a whopping 10 miles an hour. We arrived, we had a great time. I got to hang out with my daughter's friends and had a wonderful overnight, and then it was on the way home that I started talking to another lady from the troop. And she says, "Oh, we used to be Catholic, but we're not practicing anymore." She says, "My husband would rather spend an hour at the soup kitchen than to spend an hour in Mass. It's more meaningful." And I had known this lady for quite a while, and I was shocked. I said, "Well, I didn't know your husband went to the soup kitchen every Sunday." And she laughs and she says, "Oh, he doesn't go. If I organized it, he would." And it really started me thinking about getting opportunities, that it's not that we wouldn't do these things, it's just we're so busy, we don't take the time to create the opportunities. Girl Scouts provided me many, many opportunities to go horseback riding, canoeing, camping in the Adirondacks, which I could pass on. I don't want to do that again. But I got to meet my daughter's girlfriends, and over half of them attended her wedding. From kindergarten all the way to her wedding, there were girls there that had been with her forever. So it provided opportunities. So that's what got me thinking about creating Faith Formation to offer you opportunities to be with your children in their faith. So we came up with the 50-50 split, and the fall session and the winter session. Fall session, you have 4 meetings to attend tonight, and then 3 more, October, November, and December. They usually start out here at church, and then you go back to the rooms by grade, and you work on the homework assignments that you received, and then we do a service opportunity. Tonight, you'll go home with a calendar. This is the fall agenda. So tonight, most of you are going to be picking up session 6 and 7 sessions, and then I think 8th grade gets 7 and 8. Again, I want you to think of this as an opportunity to work with your child. I hope you don't think of this as I have to, but if you remember from last year, I get to. I do get the question, why all the homework? We are working out of Loyola Press, Finding God. And these are the reasons I came up with why we use the textbook. Number 1, every religious program is carefully laid out so that the content builds from year to year. Teaching materials are assigned to each grade level to ensure there are no gaps in the children's education. A lot of times we forget what it's like to be a first grader, second grader, and 8th grader. So it's nice that the content is built in there for you. You don't have to blindly lead them. You're getting just a little bit of guidance. Using the textbook assures that the catechist is teaching authentic teachings of the church, regardless if the catechist is you or the catechist in the classroom. You're getting the authentic teachings of the church. The concepts in the book and how they are explained, the vocabulary and the activities are geared to the student's age level. The lessons have been piloted and have been proven effective. And bonus, the photos, arts, and chart materials enhances the learning experience. And the catechists in the manual are offered at least 5 opportunities to enhance the lesson with 5 different craft activities, however they feel moved. Also, you can use this opportunity for the younger kids for the 20-minute reading assignments. It's 5 pages, and so you can kind of use it for the school, for the reading material, and then be able to work with them. And I also suggest that read the questions first on the homework assessments, and it makes finding the answers a lot easier. So again, you'll be familiar with working with the sessions over the fall, and then it continues winter session. So you'll still be getting your homeworks, 5 pages, and then the assessments that do go home. 6th, 7th, and 8th graders, we require them to give us 100% participation. That means 100% of the homework comes back and 100% attendance. If they can't attend, if they can't make it to the Sunday or they can't make it to Monday or vice versa, they are required to do the homework at home. If they give me 100%, they don't have to do the end of the year assessment. And I will say, the end of the year assessment is very, 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 very hard. I wouldn't want anybody to have to take the end of the year assessment. This is the calendar for the family program. You are responsible for all the assignments. And this is just a suggestion of when you want to work on the homework. I have a web page. It is sponsored by Leadway. It is free, which means HTTP has to be put, this whole address has to be put into the address line. Can't search just Our Lady Faith Formation, you won't find me. Has to be the whole thing there. If you go, once you get to my page, if you go to the menu bar, this is what you'll find in the web page. Sign Up Genius. So if I have any, here we go. So you go to the home page, you have Sign Up Genius. You'll find all of them there and updated. All the assessments. So if one of the kids loses their assignments, you can go there, look at it. It's perfectly acceptable if they want to write their name and then fill it out. Number 1, A, number 2, B. That's perfectly acceptable to turn in. We have a question?
Is that email address, is that email goes somewhere?
It should, are you getting my newsletters?
Yes.
Then it is in the newsletter. Yeah. Yeah. So if you lose an assignment, you can always look it up, write it on a blank piece of paper. Just please, please, please remember to put your name on all paperwork. The calendar is there. Any forms, bus forms, you can find those there. Signing up for Loyola Press. If you want to know the answers before the kids work on the homework, you can sign up and you can get the teacher page and you can find the answers. Videos. Tonight's video will be listed up there after I convert it. And we did the Christmas pageant. That will be there. And for future Christmas pageants.
Things are on Facebook too.
I do get the question, why family movie nights and not vacation Bible camp? Again, I was asked to create opportunities that were family orientated. And so we came up with family movie nights. If you haven't come, I start off the evening with a YouTube video, about 4 minutes. They're hard to find 4 minutes, but I work real hard for a 4-minute video that has the theme. So we did Nanny McPhee, and it was Guardian Angels. So I'll tell the kids, why did Mrs. Harper choose Guardian Angels? So they watch the movie. Afterwards, I'll say, so, what do you think? Who was the Guardian Angel? And the answers are really darling. And then we end with the craft. This week had seen Heaven Almighty, and we end with maybe making birdhouses for Noah's Ark. Altar servers, 4th grade and up. 4th grade has the forms in their folders, but if you'd like one, you have an older kid that missed the opportunity, just come find Dora or I, and we can get you set up. Another opportunity. Pizza party points. I love throwing the pizza party at the end of the year. This is another opportunity. I don't know what I just did. Okay. All right, pizza party points. Whatever was discussed in class, the catechist will tell the kids. Today in class we talked about, and this is again just an opportunity for you to talk with your child. If it's a 30-second conversation or if it's an hour conversation, sign it and let the kid bring it back. It's really disappointing for the kids, especially in the older groups, where they're getting 33% and then they don't care about turning it back in. Again, this is more about an opportunity for you to interact with your child. I'm still looking for catechists. I am in need of possibly, I'm getting some interest, but I haven't got anything confirmed for kindergarten, 4th grade and 5th grade. Let me know if you're interested. The manual is pretty much spoon feeds you everything you need to know. You don't have to pull anything creative, it's all in there. All materials are provided for you. And with that, our guest speaker for tonight is Steve. Oh. Yes, in my newsletter, if you're unsure of what a classroom looks like, keep looking at it. I will keep having it in the newsletter until all my positions are filled. And here, this is just an option. If you don't want to review the homework, but you came up with a really awesome craft, this can come out. All right.
Thanks, Susie. And you'll have the opportunity to answer questions or ask questions afterwards as well about the faith formation and with Dr. Paul. At this point, I'd like to introduce our speaker tonight. He's Dr. Paul Vizdjak. His topic is faith and wellness in our hectic world. I and my family have been patients with him for at least 20 years. So it's been that long. You're looking older now too. As am I. Well, he's keeping me healthy and youthful. And so I'd like to let him tell you a little bit more about himself, and you can ask questions after he's finished.
All right. So I know you guys had a choice between yesterday at 12:45 and tonight, and I know that about 2 weeks ago I realized that was 15 minutes before the Browns kickoff. So I know a lot of you chose tonight because of that, but now you're probably wishing that you would have got that yesterday instead of watching the Browns. So yeah, I've been in practice for 42 years. I know everybody wants to be healthy and wants wellness and balance and happiness in their life. But when it comes to our kids, we want it even more. So I know all of you have kids in an age range where that becomes a priority, that's important. So I'm going to take 15 to 20 minutes and just talk, and then we'll have question and answers. We see a lot of kids in our office. I have an 18-year-old, 16-year-old, and a 15-year-old. So I have some experience with kids and put a lot of emphasis on trying to lead and create a balanced, well life. So at an early age, I was intrigued with success and failure. Who succeeded, who failed, whether it was in business or in life or in sports. And as I delved into it deeper and deeper, certain things got teased out as far as traits. But when I dug a little deeper, what I found is that a lot of people were successful in one area of life, but not all areas of life. So we'd see somebody that was really successful in business, but their family life was in shambles. Or they were super healthy and fit, but they didn't like their work, or their job situation wasn't very good. Or they were spiritually strong, active in their church, but financially they were a wreck. And so I kind of set out with this idea that it didn't have to be either or, and that it creates some kind of a balance. And in life there's a lot of theories. We hear a lot of theories, and then there's practice. And so I kind of got real active in testing theories. So I tested all kinds of theories. And one of those theories was, if you've ever heard in school, study every subject a little bit each day, and you'll do great in your studies. Don't wait until last minute. And I heard that my whole high school career, even college career. But once I got into the doctorate program, I said, you know what, I'm going to try this. I'm going to study every subject every day for a little bit and see what happens. And I had gotten good grades up until then, but never had gotten a 4.0, and I got a 4.0. So that was a theory that turned out to be practical, and it worked. It was the only 4.0 I had until then, and the only 4.0 I got since then. But I proved it to myself that I could do it. So, but with the taking that kind of theory one step further, what I found was, and the analogy I came up with, and I've used this in different talks over the last decade, is spinning plates. And what that is every area of your life, if you think of it like a plate, and you've seen people spinning plates, I don't know if anybody remembers That's Incredible. There was a guy that spun a record number of plates, kept him going on the stick where he was spinning plates. So if you think of every area of your life like a plate, it always takes effort and energy to get a plate going, but then you have to keep it going. So when I got out of school, I started to practice. That's a plate. I had to put some effort into that and get that spinning. Well, and then I got married. Okay, so that's family. So that's another plate. I had to get that going, and I had to spin that plate. I wanted to maintain my health and fitness level, so I wanted to work out and take care of myself and eat well. That's another plate. I had to keep that spinning. But I couldn't forget about the other plate, so I have to go back and I have to keep touching up those plates. And then spiritual, spiritual plate. You've got Bible studies, you've got to go to church and pray and meditate. So that's another plate. And so you can see, and I'll use those 4 plates. In fact, when I did this talk a decade ago, I actually learned how to spin plates. And I did that in front of people when I spun plates. And it went over really well. The problem was I was asked to come and speak to a lot of corporate groups and organizations. And after that talk, I said, I'm never spinning these plates again. Because it was ridiculous and stressful. But every single person said, you're bringing those plates, right? So I had to spin plates for groups for the next year. So the bottom line is, you've got to touch up your plates on a regular basis. And all the plates aren't going to be spinning perfectly at all times. It just doesn't happen. They're going to wobble. And on That's Incredible, that episode, I remember they would wobble, but the guy would run back and forth and he would touch it up and then he could start a new plate. And so the key, what I found is, if you take every area of your life and you make sure you're consistently touching up those plates, you can keep those going. And they're not going to be in balance all the time. There's going to be some wobbling. That's bound to happen. But you can't avoid one or neglect one for any amount of time because it'll eventually crash. And when one of your plates crashes, they all start to crash. And we've seen that happen with Lance Armstrong and Tiger Woods, where one thing crashed and then everything crashed. And that's what happens in our lives. So when I started to practice, I set out to I went around the country and visited the most successful doctors I could find. And what I found was that they all had done, got out of school, started to practice, grew their practice, started a family, became successful financially, had a great practice family. Next thing you know, crashed. They go through a divorce. Then they find faith or find Christ or get spiritual, get their life back on track, get into a new relationship, and they get back on track. So when I watched this, and it was almost across the board, I kind of said, well, wait a minute, if I want to avoid that dip in the middle, I probably should focus on the one thing that I thought they didn't focus on. And that was the one plate, that was the spiritual plate. So you have to make sure that you're having all your plates. The other thing that happens, and yesterday someone asked a good question, they said, well, how do you avoid getting overwhelmed, or how do you avoid getting caught up in too much? Well, with the spinning plate analogy, you can have too many plates. You can. So the key is, one, don't have too many plates. The other is to make sure that you're touching them up on a regular basis. Now, one of the school administrators told me that the 3rd grade class in a local school, they now have a record high of anti-anxiety medications given to these kids. And I'm thinking in 3rd grade, I was playing with little Star Wars figures, So the thought that these kids are having to be medicated for anti-anxiety and things like that are related to potentially stress, we've got to create a little more balance. And our kids are watching us. We always thought that we do what our kids our kids will do what we tell them to do. Well, they do what they see us do. Gilda Radner wrote a book years ago called It's Always Something. And in that book, she tells a story about their housekeeper had a dog that was pregnant and had gotten hit by a lawnmower. And the back end of this dog got cut pretty bad. They rushed it to the vet and they asked the vet, can you please save the pups? And the vet said, we can save the pups, but you know what? We can save the dog too. She won't walk like she's always walked, but she'll get around and she'll be able to have these pups. And they sewed her up, she did heal, and she would walk where she would kind of scoot her legs underneath her, slide around, and pull herself along. So So she went through the full pregnancy, had the pups. The pups were born perfectly healthy. But when the pups started to walk, they all walked exactly like the mother. Now, when I heard that story years ago, it rocked me because I realized at that point that I can tell my kids whatever they want, but they're watching. They do what we do. And we see it. I mean, you catch yourself sometimes when you go, oh, geez, that sounded just like my dad or something, or somebody says, hey, that was just like your mom. So we end up doing what we know, not what we hear. And I've heard several stories since then about other animals where they instinctually will act just like the mother or the parent. So the key is to do what we want them to do, and that's management. That's managing stress and not getting too hung up into too many things at one time and prioritizing things. I wrote an article, I'll tell you before I forget. So we launched a website. It's drbizjack.com, and I do weekly articles in the papers around here in Twinsburg, Hudson, Aurora, and I've done that for over a decade. But now we post them also as a blog on Tuesdays on that website. But on Fridays, we do what's called Friday's Findings. Actually, that's it right there. It's where I pull 3 things that I came across in my quest. Three things that I came across that week in my quest to kind of figure it all out and get it all working. So it may be a book I've read, or a quote I came across, or a product I found, or a story I heard, or a mistake I made. So it's an easy way to stay connected and get little tidbits on a regular basis, because the wellness stuff and health and balance is an ongoing thing. Just like those plates, they never stay spinning. So one of the blogs I wrote, or the articles I wrote, was about kids getting back to school. One of the things I pointed out is, we need to take care of them physically, nutritionally, and emotionally. And I already talked about the stress thing. We got to be careful not to put too much stress on these kids, because they've got stress that I know I didn't have. I mean, I think they're doing testing in kindergarten now. I just remember the little mirror thing in kindergarten where we had looked at stuff. I don't remember ever taking a test. The other thing is nutrition. I don't want to beat up the nutrition thing, but I mean, what they eat matters. Kids heading out the door with a Pop-Tart and a Coke, it's going to affect their behavior and their function. And so they need decent, whole, real foods. And as far as supplementation, if I was going to give a kid one thing, I think it would be vitamin D. Just, I don't know, I could pick several things, but vitamin D is the one thing, because most everybody in this room is deficient in vitamin D. And not only is it a vitamin, but a lot of doctors will refer to it as a hormone because it does so much. As far as exercise, we are meant to move. The brain is meant to have movement. Exercise isn't something for weight loss or fitness or muscle gaining only. It's about brain function. There's a book called Spark by Dr. John Ratty. He talks about all the things exercise does for the brain, and schools that have implemented exercise programs before school, what it did to their test scores and their incidences of fights and outbursts and things like that. So what we did is, when my kids were little, we did what I call BizJack Boot Camp. We just made it fun, and before school we had them do 3 exercises, and I let each one lead. So it made them feel important, and they would do bear crawls or push-ups or sprints or something, and we made it fun, not goofy, but it got their brain functioning. When you exercise, it starts firing off those pathways and helping learning and memory and everything else. And there's something called BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, also referred to as miracle growth, the brain, which when you exercise, it stimulates the brain. And so, and all those tips I just gave are great for kids. It's great for you too. So I didn't want this to be a wellness lecture as much as just a few quick things about balance and balanced living. And I do believe it's hard to find someone living a fully balanced life. But you don't want to get stuck in being super successful in one area when everything else is falling apart. So the other thing somebody asked yesterday about how to not get caught up. The one thing I would recommend for you as far as on a daily exercise would be gratitude exercise. It takes 30 seconds to a minute. You can do it anywhere. It costs nothing. And that's in the morning or in the evening. I tend to do it on my way home from work. I just take 30 seconds to a minute and think of 3 things that I'm grateful for. And what that does is several things. First, it puts me in a better state immediately. It helps me to focus on what's good in my life. And also, I mean, studies show that it increases your immune function and it boosts killer cells, your T cells, and help fight cancer. There's physiological things that go along with gratitude. So whether it's prayer, meditation, or gratitude, I think a lot of that kind of falls under that same umbrella. But it doesn't cost anything. It doesn't have to be crazy. It doesn't have to be some radical boot camp or some crazy program. It takes 30 seconds and you can do it anywhere. So, I don't think there's anything else. Anybody have any questions?
A question?
Yeah.
At what age could a teenager or young 8-year-old, 9-year-old student start lifting the live weights as opposed to body weight pushing?
He's asking about what age somebody would, a child could start lifting weights, physical weights. I held off for a while. Depends on the kids too, because I've taken care of some 8th graders that like are grown men, and some kids are not. So you'll ask different people different questions. It depends. And a lot of them can do just regular exercise without the weights. My son was begging me to use weights for a long time, and I think you can do it appropriately. I mean, that's even a better question for a personal trainer or somebody in the fitness center. But I held off for a while just because I didn't think he needed it, and I knew he could do other things. So what we had him do was pull-ups, push-ups, and sit-ups, and jumps and things like that, because he didn't need the weights. He needed to hit a certain level before I thought he should be able to do that. A couple of his friends were big enough and they were lifting weights. And whatever it ends up being, maybe you can start easy and proper form and all that, because we're seeing a lot of young kids doing things, they're overdoing it or doing it improperly, and they're hurting themselves. And it sets them up for a tough time. And that goes for a lot of things, because I've had people come into my office,
Your batteries went out. Speak louder.
Okay. You know, a lot of people get really extreme with things. So we had a lady, her doctor told her she needed to lose weight and wanted her to put her on a specific diet. So she told me that he wanted me to work on specific vegetables and wanted me to avoid certain things like carrots that were more high glycemic vegetables. And I thought, how about we eliminate the donut and the Twinkies first, you know? So I wasn't worried about eat every vegetable right now. So same with working out. You know, some people do nothing and then they jump into hardcore CrossFit, boot camps, things like that. So it depends on the kid, and it depends on the size of the kid and the maturity of the kid, I would say. Other questions? You know, I said, I did it, I went to a talk a psychologist put on. I did it to support my sister. She had a women's group, and it was this, it was how to raise healthy, well-balanced kids. And it was a group of women, and they did this talk. And at the end of the talk, this group of women frantically started to ask questions as if they were like failing miserably. Like, oh, if my kid does this, what should... And they were so overwhelmed and worried. I wanted to stand up and walk up front and say, listen, you're here. You're in the top 1%. Stop worrying. If you're at a talk on how to raise a healthy kid, perhaps a kid, you're doing a pretty good job. So, like a group like this, if somebody's here, I don't feel like we have to talk too much about what to do, because you're here. You're interested in your kids. But the number one thing is do what you want them to do and lead by example. Not so much what you tell them.